What's up, guys? Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn. Bringing you guys our NCL Season 6 recap for Zubstrika. Just gonna run through how the season went, not just for me, but for the league as a whole, since I do commission this league. And go over my prep for each week and sort of talk about what I maybe could have done better and summarize the games for you. And then we will go over my kill leader stats and look at how it changes everything on my leaderboard for Gen 8 as a whole and overall, like all time. So, starting with the season. Now, this was pretty bad. It was my worst record ever. Previously, my worst record was in Season 3. Here we are, by the way, 7th seed. Technically 6th, because I did hold the tiebreaker over PokeFan, but the auto-sort function on my standings page does not work. So, it doesn't work like that, sorry. It doesn't consider head-to-head, it only considers alphabetical. So, besides the point, really, where was I going with this? This is my historically worst season. Previously, my worst season was Season 3, so clearly I'm not going to do well in Season 9. Yeah, I went 7-5 in that season, and I missed playoffs because we still used divisions back then. And then the season after, we switched to table. It was going to happen regardless of that. It was already planned, and the doc was already made. But it was just funny that it worked out that way. So we did finish in 6th seed, which is crazy. But if you look at the standings, this was a really tight season. Like, there's kind of two ways to look at this. First of all, look at how many 6-6 teams there even were. This, like, half the league was 6-6. Not quite half, almost half. 7 teams were 6-6, and one of them was almost in relegation territory. So really, I was only one win away, or one loss away, sorry, one more loss away from being in relegation territory. Like, it's ridiculous that a 5-7 team potentially and actually will relegate. Because he's not returning next season. So, just really crazy season, honestly. And there's just words cannot describe what this season was like for me. It was back and forth the whole time. Everyone was so close in every game. It felt like almost every game was a coin flip, pretty much the entire time. So that's what happened there. There were a few sus tiering decisions on my part as well as the league's part. We banned trapping, which was gross. Melmetal was allowed, which ended up getting dropped by Bronson, and I really wish I had picked that up. But he dropped it like right at the deadline, and I think I was already out of transactions at that point. He also sniped me on Megalodios and then dropped it for Mega Charizard X, so that was a yikes. We made a lot of transactions this season that we'll talk about later. This is the first Gen 8 season, so there's expected, some weird things, but Duraludon in Tier 2 was definitely a giant mistake post, realizing that after the fact, that would definitely get moved down. So a lot of this is going to change for future seasons. We are not changing tiering for next season, as in we're sticking with tiers and we're sticking with megas, and it'll probably be post DLC. The season is definitely taking place after the first DLC drops, assuming it does not get delayed, so that will be a good start to find out all the DLC stuff. Supposedly, this new mythical Zarude is supposed to come out in the middle of this month. And so, in the middle of next month. Sorry, not this month, but next month. So that'll be something new and fun to add to the tier list. And yeah, that is pretty much that in terms of the tier list. Draft order, I got kind of screwed. I got 7th in the draft, which was pretty bad, but I ended up snagging Galarian Darmanitan still. I was shocked that it fell to me. I probably should have taken it still, actually, but maybe built a better team around it. My draft overall was very bad, and this was probably one of my worst drafts ever. So we'll talk about that a little bit, and that's why I made so many transactions. And then if you haven't seen everything, you should watch it. So spoiler alert now, because I'm going to spoil where I finished in terms of playoffs. I did make playoffs, but I'll spoil where I finished in terms of playoffs. So if you haven't seen playoffs, then just click away in 3, 2, 1. Yeah, I got knocked out in round 1. Jed pretty much tossed us in that game. It looked a lot closer than it actually was. I really did not have a chance of winning that game. I built a way too defensive team, and I could not handle Moltres at all. Had I kept Mega Garchomp on the team. That would have been a lot better than having like Mega Glade. So the transactions really screwed me when it came to playoffs, and I actually don't think the transactions helped me at all. Um, in the grand scheme of things, I actually think it was very poor for me, and it ended up benefiting Joey a lot more than it benefited me. And he finished higher than me. He went to semifinals and lost to Vanderbilt. And then the eventual winner was actually Bronson, who took down Vanderbilt and stopped her from winning her back-to-back titles. So congratulations to Bronson on that. Um, Big win for him. He absolutely slaughtered Vanderbilt in finals. It was not very close at all. There was a little bit of hacks. I'm not sure if I can say that it mattered or not because I really don't know the actual details behind if it mattered or not. But it was a fun game to watch, and yeah, the season is now over. So we're moving into the off season and stuff. If you're watching this and you're not part of the NCL server, I'll drop the permanent link that we have. The permanent server link that we have, and you can check that out. It's unfortunately now too late to sign up for our off-season tournament by the time you're seeing this, but it is not too late to apply for next season because we haven't started even looking at coaches for that yet. It's going to be mid-July, but that is what's going on there. So, taking a look at our team here. This is our team page. This was our final roster for the season. Was Mega Glade, Garchomp, Kuhn, Shaman, Salazzle, Avalugg, Kecleon, Zapdos, Klefki, Sharpedo, and Rotom. Very interesting. I ended up going with double electric pretty much the entire season just because Rotom was there. I think I really tried to draft a weird draft with too much comfort and not a lot of stuff that I actually wanted to try. And then I changed it up by... Sorry, not enough comfort. And then I changed it up by trying to get more comfort with Mega Glade and Zapdos, and that did not work out for me at all. So this season really sucked, and I actually dropped and traded a lot of stuff. This season was really back and forth with like wins into losses. Like it was mostly win loss, win loss, win loss, win loss. As you see here, my back half of my season was literally 3-3. Front half of my season, literally 3-3. The only difference is that I have a 2-loss streak here and a 2-win streak here. But a lot of the late season games were really close. And so my differential stayed high because I had these large wins in week 1 and week 4 that helped propel me forward in the differential standings, and that's why I was the top 6 and 6 seed. So that's pretty much it from me here. I didn't really have any like standout kill leaders. Shaman was the best, and we'll go over the stats later and whatnot, but Shaman was the top kill leader on the team, which was great because I heavily underestimated Shaman. And I just realized normally I have my draft slides up for these, and I didn't do that this time. So I'll probably just stop doing that because I don't think it's really helpful when I have a team page to go over things. Yeah, so that's that. So let's start talking about week 1. Obviously, we played Demons and the Whippy Torcats. Let me just take a drink here. He had a really bulky team, and he ended up dropping, and TJ took over this team. So luckily, I got the win before TJ took it over, because it was 0-4 when TJ took it over, and then he went 5-3 to finish out the season. Excuse me, which would have been on pace for playoffs if he had been playing the entire season, and he didn't even get to draft it. Like, he kept a lot of this team. The Cobalion, the Volcarona, the Rhyperior, the Rotom Wash. I'm pretty sure he kept the Weezing or something like that. I don't know. This ended up looking like it was a really difficult prep for me on paper, and then I kind of just smashed with SD Mega Garchomp, and this was like the one match where Mega Garchomp did anything before I got rid of it. So let's just go over it here. So, like Spadef, Kecleon, you know, I remember Shaman did stuff. Galarian Darm put on a show in terms of it being like a threat, but I don't remember it actually doing much, and I went with the bitch strats with Ice Punch and Fire Punch. Never do that. Crash and Flare Blitz every time. Honchkrow, which also kind of like was good for me most of the season. Why did I even bring Honchkrow? It's not even a good matchup. Why am I bringing Honchkrow? This looks like a pretty bad one that I still managed to 6-0. Specs Coco was actually really good in this one. And then SD Mega Chomp just set up on Rotom and clicked a bunch of buttons. Not really much more to say about that one. Week 2, we took a fat L to Mike. This is the one where I thought that he was either Scarf Mew or Scarf Hydra, but he was actually like Wise Glasses on one of them, or both. He was like Modest Mew or something, and Wise Glasses Hydra, or yeah. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know I got thrown off and I lost because I played poorly, not because I prepped poorly. Um, a Wishbasser would have been great on an AV Shaman set, which was weird enough by itself, but uh, yeah, I didn't handle Crobat well enough. You know, I had some funky stuff going on. I ended up bringing Toxic, Subtech, Slazzle quite often. Uh, just I think I didn't bring in the Honchkrow soon enough, and it went very poorly for me. Not a great game, not a great game at all. Week 3 against Magic, also another game that could have gone wildly different. Meteor ended up just beating me because of misprep. I was Heavy Slam rather than Gyro Ball on my Bronzong, and had I been Gyro Ball, I would have been able to kill his Meteor and win the game. But instead, I got swept by the Meteor. That I prepped for because I was locked into Banded Earthquake. Now, granted, Galarian Darm did a lot of damage in this game, and it just obliterated the Melodic entirely. This was another one that was difficult to prep for, and I'm not sure how I could have done it better, but I think this Coco set was kind of cool with Brave Bird with enough attack investment to Oko Max HP Mega Heracross. I seem to remember Suicune doing some stuff that was relatively useful. Yeah, I'm not so sure about this one. I just know that I lost, and I lost because of Minior, and I didn't prep well enough for Minior. That was my takeaway from this game. Week 4, we took on Gareth, and I picked up a big win here. He ended up dropping most of his team after this as well. Dracovish was gone, Mega Charizard X was gone. I'm fairly certain something else was dropped as well, possibly Alakazam. Where am I at? Week 4, Hamilton Torcats. I want to say it was Salazzle that did well this game. I think he got up like a Dragon Dance with Megazord X, and Scarf Salazzle with Dragon Pulse really pulled through. It was the damage that I needed. I don't recall anything else. I think Banded Darm went in as well. I seem to remember Banded Darm almost claiming the Aromatisse and like demolishing the Hippo plus the Empoleon. Guerrilla Tactics is really broken, I'm not gonna lie. I don't remember much else of this game. This was so long ago, I just do not recall. Week 5, we took on Bronson, and this was a really tight loss. I think we could have won this one had I played it better. I got demolished by Dragon Dance Megalodios, and I just did not prep well enough for Megalodios. I got a free kill turn 1. Like, he just left Quilladin in on Galarian Darm, and then I punished his Melmetal afterwards by switching into Suicune, and I had a bunch of momentum early on, and then I tossed it all away. Like, it went down the gutter when I had nothing to deal with Megalodios on this Tapu Koko set, and I was really sad about that. So I think I tried to do too much tech on this Koko set, and not running D-Gleam was really bad. And maybe this is the one where I didn't bring in Honchkrow early enough to sucker. I think he probably thought that I didn't have it because I didn't bring it in, but I didn't want to play mind games with Dragon Dance either. So that's my takeaway from that game. I don't recall too much of this. This is going to be a theme with every season recap, by the way. Like, I upload these way late, and these games happened a long time ago. Like, you can see, this game was February 24th. Today, I'm recording this. It is May the 12th. It's May the 12th. You can see there, May the 12th. I do not remember. I upload these like weeks after the fact, and the only reason that I've waited to record this was to find out the champion. Otherwise, I would have recorded this right after my match with Jed, which is way over here, and it was about 3 weeks ago. So, yeah, please don't hold it against me. Pokefan, I think Mega Beedrill just kind of smacked me. In prep, Mega Beedrill looked really scary, and I could have gone with like Koba Buzzwole again to stop it, forcing it to run Aerial Ace or something. He didn't even run Aerial Ace. I don't even remember how I killed it, but I won this game somehow. I think I won with like Scarf Darm clicking Earthquake in the end game, but I just had no prep for Beedrill at all, and there's like no counterplay for me to deal with it. Again, I don't really remember what did well and what didn't. It looks like he did bring the Aegislash. What did I kill the Aegislash with? It must have been Darm. I don't remember. But I remember the Darm killing the Beedrill at the end of the game, so that's a takeaway that we can take there. Week 7, we took on Cindy in the Kyoto Seal. This was a big one. If we lost to Mono Water, that would have been really bad. But we won against Mono Water. Shaman pulled through very clutch in this one, as well as Scarf Coco in the end game. Scarf Coco pulled out a big boy performance and just demolished that team in the late game. It helps having double electric and a really solid grass type into a mono water matchup, as well as having a Suicune. I tried something funky with Bronzong, which didn't work, but I had to sack like half my team to Mega Gyarados, and then from there it was really easy because once Mega Gyarados died, there were no other threats, and it was like Scarf Pelipper with Weather Ball or some shit. So, yeah. I want to battle Cindy again when she's got a real team, because it was really threatening in prep, and I think she played really well. So I want a rematch with real teams to see where she's actually at in terms of being able to beat. This was like, okay, I'll leave it there. In terms of being able to beat me, because I would like a challenge. But week 8, we took on Joey, and this was after our transactions. So now is a great time to talk about our transactions. We ended up trading. Well, okay, so I traded Zero Aura right after the draft for Coco to Jed. And then I had to drop Bronzong to make this trade work for Sigilyph, which is what I ended up losing to against Joey. And then I traded him Mega Garchomp, Sigilyph, Galarian Darmanitan, and Tapu Koko for Avalugg, Garchomp, Mega Gallade, and Zapdos. And I was like, oh, well, I'm getting the better Mega out of this. I've got the better Electric because I really hate Koko and I really like Zapdos. And I basically just upgraded my Garchomp because now it can run an item. Truth be told, it really did not matter. It ended up forcing Garchomp to run Rocks a lot more than I wanted to the rest of the season because Bronzong didn't come anymore. My Steel type was shit because I ended up dropping Buzzwole for Klefki the same week, I think, to make sure that I had a Steel type on the team still. And while it was nice to have Spike support for Mega Gallade and like screen support for my team, Bronzong is much more reliable than Klefki at pretty much everything. So that was bad. It forced me into running Kecleon a lot more in the late season too for Rocks, because I ended up bringing Garchomp very few times. Again, I don't know why. Yeah, this made my team really jank. It made my team really jank, and I did not like it. So I got absolutely ass-pounded by Sigilyph against Joey because I just did not prep well for it. I thought that I could break through it with Zapdos not running max special attack, and I couldn't. I barely had prep for it with Gallade. Sub 3 attacks is not a good Gallade set, by the way. Never ever run a Gallade set like this. It's terrible. I couldn't Toxic it because it's Magic Guard, and I don't remember what else. Oh, my Shaman was walled by it, but Shaman's always walled by it. So that was pretty much it. Yeah, I just got pretty much dicked down by the Sigilyph. I don't remember anything else actually even doing anything in that game besides the Sigilyph. I think everything else was pretty free, and I actually think I prepped well for everything bar the Sigilyph. So don't ignore the Sigilyph in prep. That's all I'm saying. Week 9, this is when I took on Vandal, and I hacked her a little bit, but I think I earned this win for sure. I outplayed her in Furnape over and over again. And I ended up dropping Honchkrow for Sharpedo this week. So Honchkrow got dropped for Sharpedo. It came to a few games, and then I picked up Shark. And I ran Banded Shark against her. And it missed a roll on Galarian Corsola. I could have picked up 3 kills, but only picked up 1 because I missed the roll on Galarian Corsola. It was like literally the lowest possible roll, and it was the only one where she ever lived when she was max defense, and Banded Crunch just could not pick it up. So Shark, a little bit weak when it's not Mega, if I'm being honest. And besides that, that was pretty much this game. Like, she ran a weird Focus Blast Zygarde that caught my Avalugg off guard. It wasn't that weird because I have an Avalugg, right? But it was just strange to me that she wouldn't just pull a double instead of clicking Focus Blast, or like anything. I don't know. Anything besides Focus Blast. Like, just such an unreliable move. Even Core Enforcer probably would have been better, because I think that still would have two-shot me. Either way, the game's over. Vanderbilt made it to finals, and I didn't. She obviously had a better season than me by a long shot. She was the first seed. She was coach of the season, all of that shit. And I just made some plays with Rotom. Like, I switched between Rotom and Avalog a bunch. Bulk of Glade. Pardon me. I don't think this did anything. I don't remember it actually having any solid impact on the game. Week 10, we took a fat L to Sioux. Classic. I love losing to Sioux for some reason. This game was actually not that difficult for me. And I remember tossing this one away. Because I had to prep for like Chandelure and Swallow and Megalakazam because they all two-shot my entire team. And then he didn't bring any of them. And I was baffled, man. I was fucking baffled. I don't remember what happened in this game, now that I'm thinking about it. I think it was Scarf Haxorus. That's what it was. I didn't play around Scarf Haxorus, and it was Scarf Haxorus. And I needed to double protect with Sharpedo, and I wasn't... You know, who knows if I would have got the double protect or not. I was in a position to win with Sharpedo if I did get the double protect, and then I didn't even click it, so... I actually have no idea if I would have won that game or not. But I do remember that I was in a winning position with Shark. Because he was Fizdef Bandabuzz and I was Hydro Pump Shark rather than any of the other things there. So that seems to be what happened that game. I think Life Orb Shaman put in work. I think. Switched into Haxorus, maybe dealt with Excadrill or something. I do not recall on all of these, but I seem to have Klefki on my team, so. Okay, week 11 we took on Cade. We would have taken on Cade. I did prep for him. No, I did not. I did not prep for him. He dropped the league a few weeks prior, and so we just got the FF win from this one. So without this FF win, I'm actually potentially in relegation territory. And then week 12, well, I certainly would not have made playoffs without this FF win, because I would have probably lost to this team. This was a really strong team. I maybe had some counterplay around it, but in terms of how my season went, Skarmory would have been really difficult to deal with. So yeah. Last but not least was Aaron in week 12, and I played very poorly around Scarf Superior in this one. It ended up getting a lot of kills against me. I was lucky that it missed a Leaf Storm, and that I could pressure stall out a few Leaf Storms with Suicune to get just enough differential to sneak into 6th seed. That was kind of what I was playing for, was pulling out the differential in this one. SD Gallade actually picked up a kill on his Finny, like turn 2. I think I SD'd on Heatran, and then immediately killed his Finny, and then I pussied out on something else. Dodrio is what it was, and he was Life Orb Dodrio, which would have killed me, but I could have gone for the speed tie. And that Dodrio was terrible. He brought it to every single game this season, and it was like, it was good in some games, and just, it did nothing against Avalog. Like, it made no sense to me to bring Dodrio against Zapdos plus Avalog, but he still brought it just because. My Curse Zapdos could have put in work, I thought, and then he ended up bringing Taunt Heatran, which I guess makes sense for Klefki, but like, why would I ever send in Klefki on Heatran? So it kind of made sense to me, but at the same time, it didn't make sense to me why Heatran was the taunter and it wasn't Finny. Finny would have made a lot more sense for A, Klefki, and B, Suicune, rather than Heatran, which can't check either of those. So I think in hindsight, I'm still really weirded out by the taunt Heatran over taunt Tapu Fini. I think that made a lot more sense in building for him, but we still lost, so I guess I can't really say much. There's not really much I could have done differently in this one besides just prep around Scarf Surf better, I guess. I probably should have just left Shaman in on it at some point, or had Air Slash, sorry. I dropped Air Slash last minute for Dazzling Gleam on my Shaman to hit the Mega Latias, and I didn't need it. I could have just run with Air Slash. But hindsight is 2020. And then we took on Jed in quarterfinals, and Moltres was a problem. I did not prep well enough for Moltres. It ended up winning defensive MVP and best Gloomon, and I did not prep well enough for it, despite that. So my prep was like Kecleon, and hitting it in the face with Gallade, which was also bad. Scarf Poltergeist ended up winning him this game. I think besides that, it would have been fine. I definitely over-prepped a little bit for the Landorus and the Mega Aggron in hindsight as well, which I talked about after the game, I think. But this game was not... It shouldn't have been that difficult in prep for me because Ditto was such a problem against most teams, but Ditto was like never a bring against me because I can run like bulky setup, and Ditto does not counter bulky setup at all. It counters things like Blacephalon, counters things like well, maybe not Lando, because Lando's got a really hard time of hitting itself, but, you know, Poltergeist is a great example because it pretty much has to run Shadow Ball, right? So, like, Frail setup is what Ditto kind of counters, and Frail setup can typically set up on things like Alomomola very easily, or Florges very easily, so it goes well with the team, but it had a terrible matchup against me, and I prepped for Smash Poltergeist with Shadow Sneak Kecleon, but not Scarf. And Scarf Modest Psyshock demolished my team pretty much all the way over. He did lose to Nasty Plot Salazzle in most cases, and I probably could have played a lot more aggressive with Salazzle in this game than I did, but it was still not great for me. I definitely took a much more defensive approach to this game, and that was primarily because I got put in a poor position against the Moltres, where I wasn't able to Toxic it with Klefki, and I should have had Toxic on something else for it, or like a Rock move on Kecleon even, like Rock Tomb or something. Rock Tomb plus Toxic, like, I didn't need all of this coverage on Kecleon in hindsight. I should have just stuck with, like, Rocks, maybe like Rocks, Rock Tomb, Sneak, Recover, or Toxic, Rock Tomb, Sneak, Recover. Also would have been fine on Kecleon. It would have been perfectly okay this game. But, you know, that's hindsight. And so we lost in quarters. We got a little bit demolished by Jed in that game. It was a 2-0, but again, it was not even that close. Like, I just had to pick a sack every time Poltergeist came in. I had to pick a sack every time. And I didn't do enough damage with Seed Flare when I needed to. So that was an F's in the chat, boys. So, rounding things out here, I've got my stats. So these are my Gen 8 stats for all my complete leagues. The first thing to show up that I used here is probably Zapdos, but I did have it in 2 leagues. So it barely did anything for me this season. Shaman, same thing. You know, my list isn't very long for Gen 8. It only goes down to 79 with Klefki. And that's just because it doesn't sort passive kills. When I try and sort by total kills, it never just sorts passive kills. So it shouldn't even be there. It should be tied with Shark and Garchomp. Over here and here. But I've got it highlighted on the all-time page. So Zapdos is still my second highest kills Pokemon, just above Celesteela. Significantly below Mimikyu still, despite me only using it one time in Gen 8. And it's the only mod I have that's over 100 games played. Kind of glad that I traded for it. Probably shouldn't have. I probably should have stuck with the roster and maybe made some lower tier trades to help fix some holes that I had that were a little bit more glaring. But honestly, like, drafting Suicune was the bigger issue. I should have taken something like Swampert, probably, as my water. Just have something. I needed something with another type, or a water with better recovery, like Slowbro or something. And yeah, that was a big issue the whole season. Something to pivot into. Like, I'm not entirely sure how I should have done that. It probably should have been Slowbro, and I could have just pivoted Galarian Charm into Slowbro or Koko into Slowbro all season. I'm not sure what else I could have done that much differently with the team. Zero Aura was definitely not the play, though. 100%. I should have... I did. Well, I wanted Koko, and then I traded for Koko. But just a better fairy in general would have been better on that team, too. I didn't build around Galarian Charm very well. Garchomp barely came to any games. It's still top 5 in my kills. You know, I've drafted a lot of times. It's off the screen how many times I've drafted it. Same with Zapdos, but Zapdos is more. And Mimikyu's a lot as well. Like, my top 5 are just... my top 6 even. I just draft them all the time, so... they're really big comfort picks for me. There's a few other things that I draft constantly. Like Donphan is another one that I draft constantly. Well, what is this? Melodic. I take a lot. It seems Rose Raid. I've had more places than I thought. That's really interesting because I always feel like, oh, I've never used Rose Raid, but I've had it in quite a few leagues. It's just been a really long time since I had it. Anyways, Buzzwole I did have briefly. It came to like 1 or 2 games and didn't do that much. Mega Glade normally performs better for me. It was above 2 kills a game, and then it's dropped since then, since using it. And then we have to move all the way down here to Bronzong and Salazzle. Salazzle I really enjoyed this season, despite having to bring more defensive sets most of the time. I don't necessarily think Salazzle does that well in a meta without hidden power, especially when it's really difficult to hit ground types effectively or waters. But Bronzong seems to be something that I stick to drafting in NCL mostly, although that will change because I have it in GSA. And Bronzong was good until I dropped it. Coco was I still don't like Coco. The amount of times I've tried it at this point, I probably will never touch it again in pre-DLC. I would like a gander at it in post-DLC, just because post-DLC is so different for Coco. As a physical attacker, like as a special attacker, Coco's not good. Not that good, but as a physical attacker, I think Coco is really strong. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing how it'll perform in a post-DLC meta. Suicune, I'm starting to get tired of. I have had it in the past as well, and it just feels way too passive to me. Like I don't think this is my kind of style, is playing that passive, sit on top of things and calm mind. It just tends to not be good for me. I think we saw that in Red. I got punished really hard by playing that passive style with a lot of crits, a lot of random hacks, and a lot of hazard stack, and I don't like playing that way. I like being able to pivot into things. Kecleon is still like one of my favorite low tier mons ever. It did really well for me this season. It won the 7th Man Award, so I was proud of that. Still being able to pick up something for myself. This is the first time I ever drafted Shaman. I have and I will draft Shaman again. It is a very fun Pokemon to use. Definitely underrated it in my draft analysis when I was like, oh, it's a grass type that doesn't do other things like Delmise or Amoonguss or Decidueye, but it was definitely worth a tier 3 pickup. Galarian Darmanitan actually wasn't that bad. It actually won Untapped Potential Award, which is not the greatest award to win, but I won 2 awards still, and it still got to kill a game. So I think that's actually fairly respectable. It probably could have done better, but a kill a game is probably what you should expect from a tier 1 Pokemon, or at least an offensive tier 1 Pokemon, especially as an ice type. You have to realize that it's not going to come to every single game, and it's not going to have the impact you want it to every single game either, because it's a tier 1. Other teams will prep for it harder. Now, other tier 1s that can pretty much claim to kill every game is like Lando T, anything like that, Excadrill, things like that. So, Excadrill performs the role of a cleaner, a little bit better than Galarian Darmanitan. I don't think that Scarf Galarian Darmanitan is good. I just don't think Ice is as spammable as Fire. They're walled by the same things, but with the prevalence of Steel types and how difficult it was to break Steels on my team, because of a lack of a good ground, realistically, it was Mega Garchomp. Like, that's not a great ground. Because of the lack of a good ground, I think regular Darmanitan would have been better on my team. And I also think regular Darmanitan is better for my playstyle than Galarian Darman. Galarian Darmanitan hits way harder because of Guerrilla Tactics, and it breaks way better than Darmanitan because of Banded Guerrilla Tactics. I don't even want to get into Zen mode. I didn't touch that at all. I don't think it's reliable. It's really gimmicky, and I think you kind of have to prep for it in some matchups, but realistically in practice, it's not going to be good every matchup. You're pretty much going to be able to tell if the Darmanitan needs to run Band or Zen mode, or if it has to run Scarf, based on your speed tiers. And if your opponent is anyone worth their salt, it'll be very obvious what they're doing. And that's just because the Mon itself is very limiting. I might draft this in the future, maybe not, as I'm getting away from myself here. Honchkrow was kind of fun for what I used it for, but it tended to have to run a Scarf a lot of the games just because of how my team was built. I didn't have very fast offense, and a lot of my team was very slow. I didn't have webs to support it or anything like that either, so it's really frail, and I've overestimated its bulk heavily based on how Vendril used it in the season prior, but it's okay. It's okay. It's definitely not a good dark type. Like defensively, it's terrible as a dark and a flying, but dark and flying is really good offensively, so... Avalugg and Megachomp. Avalugg I'd used barely in the past, and it was okay defensively for me. Megachomp actually was kind of okay as well, but I still prefer regular Chomp over it. Klefki, I have drafted in the past. I really like Spikes, and it's kind of okay as it's good. It's a good spiker. It's a good utility Pokemon. It's really bad as a sit-up Pokemon. Regular Rotom surprised me at how much I liked it. I was shocked that I liked it so much. It was pretty effective for me most of the season. Definitely a fan of regular Rotom. Sharpedo, I would probably prefer to try Mega next over regular again. Not my cup of tea. The speed tier hinders it a lot, and I think if you can speed boost and have the speed boost applied to a 105 speed, it's a lot better, especially in that game against Stu, which was the one time it had to shine. It's not strong enough in regular form. That's pretty much all I'll say about Sharpedo. So that is going to be for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Again, keep an eye out for Season 7. I will hopefully remember to get an invite link. Otherwise, you can DM me on Discord and find me that way, because I'm sure you're not watching this video unless you share a server with me. That's probably that. So keep an eye out for NCL Season 7, and I'll catch you guys next time.